All right, hey gang, my name is Dr. Eric Dorninger. I'm a naturopathic doctor, as in Nancy David, ND, and a licensed acupuncturist. I did my pre-med at CU Boulder, so I'm buff who gets along with CSU Ram. So if anyone's a buffer Ram, you're all good with me. And I went to CU for pre-med and then off to Bastyr University, which is quote unquote the Harvard of natural medicine out in the Pacific Northwest. It's a very well-known integrated school. You get a primary care training and you learn all the integrated therapies. So you're not only learning conventional model and giving antibiotics for strep throat, but you're also learning a lot of diet and lifestyle, targeted nutraceutical therapies. And an old lab rep who was coming to our clinic, Patrick Kohlberg, he came and talked to me about what I'd like to be the director of research and development for Blue Sky CBD. And I said, I don't know. I get hit up by the CBD companies all the time. I have no idea what CBD is about. I have a patient in the morning who tells me it's a miracle for her knee pain. I have someone in the afternoon who says it does nothing, and everything in between. So I basically took the job to force myself to put in real time to study cannabidiol. And cannabidiol is the long name for CBD. And I love this company. I love what cannabidiol is doing for inflammation in our patients. And that's what today's about. So this is me. My clinic is in Louisville, Colorado. And I love that one of our coaches is does the rock steady boxing. I went to Bastyr with the esteemed Lori Mishley. She's a dear friend of mine. I call her the Queen of Parkinson's. She's doing the pro-PD studies on tracking what works for Parkinson's patients. I loved hearing about that Europe trip because in her research, the number one thing that progresses Parkinson's is loneliness. So gluten-free helps, dairy-free helps, coenzyme Q10 helps, glutathione is helping, obviously exercise is helping, but the number one important thing is engagement, community. And I love helping our Parkinson's patients combine community with exercise. So whether it's doing a spin class or doing rock steady boxing or being part of a hiking group or a choir, staying engaged and staying in community is super important. And I have my classmate Lori Mishley to teach us that and remember the most important thing is to go through this together. I did a talk that goes into much more detail on this to the Colorado Association of Naturopathic Doctors. It's on YouTube, CBD 101, a practitioner's overview of cannabidiol. If you want real nitty-gritty details, you can just put CBD 101 Dorninger into YouTube and you'll see that talk come up. There's only one mistake, one thing that didn't stand the test of time for that talk, and it looks like cannabidiol is sleep neutral. So in that talk, I give a slide that says CBD might disrupt sleep architecture, might mess with your sleep a little bit, and that is not true, but THC and alcohol, which help us fall asleep, do disrupt sleep architecture on the backside. So that's the one slide that's not correct on there, and you can use cannabidiol as part of a sleep program. And then our YouTube channel is the Vitality Hour. If you put in the Vitality Hour, we have all kinds of fun guests on in the integrated holistic community, everything from how to do a heart scan to prevent heart attack and stroke, to having Steve Hess, the Denver Nuggets strength and conditioning coach, on there, and how to stay motivated in a pandemic, Eric Goodman and the foundation training work for your biomechanics. So feel free to check that out. So that's me. Okay. So what's our mission? To create healthier communities. We are founded in partnership with the Association of Naturopathic Doctors. So we have a relationship with the COND, and we're trying to help doctors learn cannabidiol too, because patients don't know what it is, the public doesn't know what it is, and the doctors don't know what it is yet. So people aren't dosing it right, people aren't using it properly, so on and so forth. We want to bring guaranteed purity and potency. So there's a lot of charlatans, shysters, and shenanigans in any nutraceutical industry. And then there's a lot of companies doing things right, whether it's vitamin D or CBD. And we wanted to make sure that we are bringing purity and potency. And that means there is no pollutants in there. That is pure cannabidiol, and that dosage matches what the bottle and the label say. 0 THC. Someone wants to smoke a joint or use marijuana, that's their prerogative. I have no issue with that. We know that THC can stimulate the CB1 receptor in the brain and make people anxious, paranoid. So I tell people it's contraindicated. Marijuana is contraindicated if you're suffering with obsessive compulsive, rumination, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia. And we know that there are higher rates of psycho-emotional experience of the Parkinson's with things like fragility and anxiety, and easy to overwhelm until their biochemistry is stabilized. So we like to keep THC out of our line. It also allows us to use our product line for EMS and paramedics and police and firefighters and military and government workers who maybe aren't allowed THC in their job. Third-party lab tested with readily available certificate of analysis. So we are not joking that every single batch of our product line has a third-party and independent verification that is pure and clean, final batch 0 THC, and final batch no pesticides. So I want to teach you guys what I learned. So when I took this job, I sat down for 90 hours over a month, and I would just come home from work, hang out with the family, and then get my butt in front of the computer and look on PubMed. That's your tax dollars funding the National Institutes of Health, and that's where all the medical papers are hosted. What do we know about cannabidiol and the real science? Not what we feel, not what some local guy on Pearl Street in Boulder said, dude, CBD is cool. What is it really doing in the body? So it interacts with the body's cannabinoid receptors, CB1 and CB2. Imagine that all of your hormones have a lock and key mechanism, like insulin is the key, and then there's an insulin receptor as a lock. Same thing with phytocannabinoids. Those are plant-based cannabinoids like THC and CBD and CBN and CBG. And same with endogenous cannabinoids. Endogenous just simply means self-made. So your body's already making cannabinoids. And those cannabinoids help put out inflammation. Those help keep our mood uplifted. They help us recover from a workout. And they work on these CB1 and CB2 receptors as a lock and key style mechanism. The self-made cannabinoids are fat-derived signaling molecules involving reward, appetite, metabolism, mood, memory, and circadian rhythms and neuroprotection. This is where public health really did us a disservice by telling us in the 80s to be fat phobic and avoid fat, low fat, no fat, and why people who do things like the Mediterranean diet are so much healthier. They're intaking healthy fats, they're intaking anchovies and mackerel and salmon and avocado, and those healthy fats downstream into your self-made cannabinoids. So your body takes this log of a fat and carves it into a endogenous cannabinoid.
Hey,
so
Dee, sorry to interrupt you. We're just seeing the intro slide to the presentation.
Okay.
I didn't know if you were advancing, but I think obviously it'd be great to like kind of read through what you, I don't know if you're seeing it on another screen.
I am advancing. So, sorry you guys aren't seeing that. Let me see if I can fix that here for you guys.
Yeah, thanks for catching that. I wasn't sure if we were moving anywhere or just.
So you guys are seeing no change in slides right here?
No.
Yeah, we're just seeing the cover slide.
Okay. Huh. Well, my apologies. These are nice slides that Carrie put together.
Let's see if
How about now?
Yeah.
Perfect.
You see them?
Yeah.
What if I do that?
Nothing.
Yep. Yep, it changed.
Really?
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so this is the nice picture of you'll do better yoga with CBD. And that's where we were talking about this is a lifestyle modulator. This is where I was talking about these. You guys can see how it works in the body. Anybody out there? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you loud and clear.
Okay, can you see the slide, how it works in the body?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I think we're good. So these are these self-made cannabinoids, and they have really what they do is they uplift mood, they dampen inflammation, and they smooth over how your brain and endocrine glands and immune system work together. And endocrine glands are things like your ovaries, testes, thyroid, adrenals, pituitary gland. And CBD's mechanism of action helps polish these this symphony even further. It's really like a conductor in a symphony that makes sure the brass and the percussion and the strings are all getting along and making beautiful music in the body. So we're going to talk about receptors, ion channels, enzymes, and transporters. I'll keep it really simple, but this is real science behind cannabidiol. If endocannabinoid tone is inadequate, lowered pain threshold, digestive disturbances, mood dysregulation, and sleep disruptions can occur. So what we're saying is the more inflamed your body is, and that could be from something as simple as overtraining and you go running too much to something really intensely inflammatory like Parkinson's. And when I talk on Parkinson's, I tell people all the time, you don't have a brain disease. You have an immune system inflammatory disease with a brain fallout. So the problem is not the neurons. The problem is the immune system and cytokine storms are burning down the neurons. So you want to go inflammation hunting, inflammation killing, inflammation balancing when you're working with Parkinson's. And CBD is part of that way to resurrect that anti-inflammatory tone in the body. So the more a fire is going on in the body, whether it's a hip replacement gone bad or Parkinson's or really bad psoriasis on the skin, you're going to start to deplete your self-made cannabinoids. So CBD helps restore those. It helps rebuild and replenish those. So CBD also activates the 5-HT1A receptors. That is a powerful receptor for serotonin. Serotonin is often what's low in headache and migraine sufferers, which is also brain on fire. And a lot of your headache drugs will be serotonin agonists or serotonin pushing medicines. So is CBD. It acts on the D2 receptors. That's the dopamine receptors. For those of you who are on levodopa, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to enhance dopamine. And it also boosts GABA-A. GABA is our cool, calm, and collected brain chemical or neurotransmitter in the brain. And we know that people can run a little overwhelmed and anxious when they're in neuroinflammation with Parkinson's. So this is really a miracle molecule, CBD, that helps uplift serotonin and enthusiasm, dopamine for ambition and drive and decisiveness and feelings of self-worth, hopefulness, ability to finish tasks, that's dopamine, and GABA. So the whole time you're being uplifted and productive, you're also feeling relaxed, right? It's not type A tension forcing productivity. It's being relaxed while you're accomplishing things. Whether that's as simple as saying, I am going to get to rock steady boxing today. I am going to start going 3 times a week, or, I put away the dishes and cleaned up the house. So CBD is a novel anti-inflammatory neuroprotector and productivity molecule. So really, really nice. So on serotonin, we talked about this, and serotonin is also wonderful at dampening anxiety, because if you feel enthusiastic, you don't feel withdrawn, panicked, and anxious. It also activates enthusiasm and improves mental acuity, decreased aggression, increased social gregariousness, decreased impulsiveness, and is an inhibitor of drug-seeking behavior and supports libido and arousal, right? So everything, whether it's a workout or a fun date night or smooching or going to choir practice or getting your tax papers done, goes easier with enthusiasm, goes easier when you're up for it, you're into it. So they are also shown in the literature, 5-HT1A agonists to dampen nausea, and this may be responsible for the anti-nausea effects seen with CBD users. So there's in cannabidiol, there's this triad that people use it for pain and inflammation, headaches, migraine, and kind of IBS-like symptoms in a handful of the studies we have. So dopamine is responsible for ambition and drive, feelings of self-worth, hopefulness, decisiveness, ability to finish tasks, and part of our libido. It's really our gregarious, yeah, right? Let's go crush that workout. I'm going to push harder. And Dr. Mishley, my mentor on all things Parkinson's, really talks about getting a Parkinson's patient to have an adequate arm swing, right? You really want to get that levodopa up and even add things like CDP choline and the cannabidiol until that arm swing is going, then push your workouts to make even more dopamine. And then if things are going really well, you can cheat back a little bit on the levodopa, carbidopa as the prescriber, if so that you can save that levodopa, carbidopa and squeeze the most juice out of that for as many years possible. So really you want to push this support until your bradykinesia, your slow movements are speeding up and your arm swing is looking much better. So we love the D2 receptor part of cannabidiol. All right. So furthermore, CBD is the first exception to the general rule that all antipsychotics either block or interfere with dopamine at the brain dopamine D2 receptor. So when someone's schizophrenic and they go on an antipsychotic, they'll stabilize, which is good. They won't torch their marriage or their family or their job, but they will be apathetic. They'll be withdrawn. So and that's because the antipsychotic squashes glutamate, which calms them down, but it also squashes dopamine to the point of feeling apathetic. CBD in a clinical trial on schizophrenics stabilized schizophrenia as well as a traditional antipsychotic with less side effects. So it's pretty cool. Other papers suggest CBD's ability to deplete glutamate. So glutamate is something you don't want too much in your brain, and that makes us feel obsessive compulsive and agitated and irritable and anxious and overwhelmed. And on a bad day, feelings of bipolar and schizophrenia. So it's a real miracle molecule for brain. Adenosine is this very cool molecule that calms the body. And caffeine would make you feel, the stimulatory effect of caffeine is a lot about this suppression of adenosine. CBD calms that. So if you ever feel over caffeinated, you could take 1 or 2 dropperfuls of the Blue Sky Original and you'll feel that calm down a little bit. And then remember, don't overdo caffeine the next day. All right, so neurotransmitter reuptake inhibition. So all we're saying here is that CBD is this multifactorial molecule that enhances norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, GABA, and anandamide. Anandamide is one of your own endogenous cannabinoids to make you feel good and balance the body. It actually has a little bit of a Prozac effect in the mechanism of action, right? And fortunately, we haven't seen the side effects of an SSRI like the crash in libido and so on and so forth. That's probably because it's also enhancing that dopamine 2 receptor. All right, is CBD an endogenous cannabinoid? Does your body make it? No, it's an exogenous cannabinoid. It comes from the hemp plant, and it helps enhance your God-given endogenous cannabinoids. So CBD props up this AEA, PEA, and OEA. Oleo ethinylaldehyde, the last one there, that comes from olive oil, right? So you can see again how these Mediterranean diets help support your endogenous endocannabinoids. Fish oil also downstreams to endogenous cannabinoids. And then CBD helps recycle those and keep them around so that body fires, brain fires can calm down. It's a novel neuroendocrine immune modulating anti-inflammatory. So it really balances the brain and the hormones. It helps, again, resuscitate, resurrect, and recycle your own endocannabinoids. It's isolated from the hemp plant, and it's a safe alternative to many over-the-counter and prescriptive anti-inflammatories. And I joke with my patients, I would put Advil, ibuprofen in the water if it didn't destroy the intestinal lining, the kidneys, and the livers with overuse, right? So that's a miracle medicine. So is Tylenol, so is Aleve, but they come with long-term consequence of destroying the intestinal lining, destroying the liver and kidneys. So we can't get too high on the hog with those medicines because we'll get concerning side effects. So this is what what the Blue Sky Original Sky Gel looks like. And CBD is not THC, although some full spectrum hemp products, not our product line, have some THC in them. CBD is not intoxicating and does not get you high, but it does have beneficial psychoactive effects. So I don't like it when people say cannabidiol isn't psychoactive. That's not true. It's an uplifting productivity molecule. Makes you feel a little bit more chutzpah, a little bit more juice in the tank. CBD does not show the safety concerns of liver, kidney, and intestinal lining damage like non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. All right, so what about Parkinson's, right? That's what we're here for today. And what we see is Parkinson's is a compilation of symptoms that can stem from neuroinflammation. And we know that CBD is this wonderful anti-inflammatory, can put out cytokine storms. That's the nonsensical, overzealous immune system inflammation that makes someone a COVID long hauler, that burns down their lungs and does pulmonary fibrosis and clots the blood more and neuroinflames the brain so they're fatigued all the time. Migraines, MS, ALS, Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, depression, anxiety, OCD, major depressive disorder, schizophrenia, but all of these are based in inflammatory cytokine storms. So the name of the game is to dampen inflammation and do it with something that doesn't rob Peter to pay Paul, put out your fire today to ruin your stomach lining or your kidneys and liver tomorrow. CBD reduces frequency of REM sleep behavior disorder. So CBD, I think CBD's mild benefits for sleep is from its effect as an anti-inflammatory. When I worked at Fraser Meadows Retirement Community for 10 years, so many seniors would swear by their Tylenol PM or their Advil PM for sleeping. They're putting out cytokine storms so that their pineal gland can fire out melatonin and growth hormones, right? So the brain needs to not be on fire so much. And that's what I deal with all day is inflammatory syndromes. So quality of life in peer-reviewed literature, and that's the studies on the bottom of the slide here, use of cannabidiol for Parkinson's disease symptoms and cannabidiol in Parkinson's disease, quality of life, motor scores, nighttime sleep, and emotional dysregulation balanced out. So people had slightly better movement and sleep and much better emotional outlook. And also helped with rigidity. So these anti-inflammatories pump up the endorphins, and dopamine is the molecule of movement. So anxiety. We have some really fun case studies on customers. These are actually not patients of ours. And this is a woman who had dramatic benefit for her anxiety. Nothing else was working. Again, this is threefold. You're waking up that enthusiasm, you're waking up the dopamine courage, which is the opposite of anxiety, and you're enhancing GABA A in the brain, which is your cool, calm, and collected. All right, so sleep. Again, in 20 years of dealing with chronic illness, including insomnia, underlying causes of inflammation are notorious for ruining the sleep party. This can include lack of oxygen, depleted endogenous or self-made cannabinoids, no longer being able to control the body's immune system and cytokine storms. So one of the things that we found in this study, the use of cannabinoids for sleep, a critical review of clinical trials, 300 milligrams of CBD, which is a lot, did not mess with sleep architecture. So it's a really wonderful anti-inflammatory that you can take regularly for supporting a good night's sleep. So pain, CBD has multiple mechanisms of action of pain, but especially neuropathic pain. And that's things like shingles, also joint pain like arthritis and osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. We also use our product line for our elite athletes so that they can recover from workouts better. So these are the multiple mechanisms of action that CBD works on pain. And what's unique about this study that other molecules don't. So this is a mechanism of action that Advil doesn't hit, that Tylenol doesn't hit, that naproxen sodium or Aleve doesn't hit. And one of the only things I know that hits this glycine receptor down here is cayenne pepper, topical cayenne pepper. And as a naturopath, in private practice for 20 years, but in healthcare for 30 years, back in the day, people would rub this cayenne pepper on their body and they would say, man, it really helps my knee pain, but it burns, right? It's literally like you're putting hot pepper on your joint. CBD is the only thing in 20 years I've seen do the same thing of hot pepper without the side effect of the burning. And that's where we have our balms, like a rub-on roll-on stick that are amazing for the pain. And there's the deep relief balm, and that is just CBD. And then if you're having real severe pain, there's max relief balm, which is a CBD CBG. And we sell these glorified lip balm. They look like an enlarged lip balm for, I think, $20 for the balms. And you can just try it out. And if it's a miraculous, keep it in your gym bag, keep using it, put it on any ankle or shoulder or so on and so forth. So really nice addition to people with arthritis and also just people who are actually staying active and getting injury. So the balms are great. There are some overlap in MS and Parkinson's in rigidity, spasticity. And this study showed supplementation for MS reduced fatigue, pain, spasticity, and ultimately improved mobility. I have a handful of MS patients that use the Blue Sky at night to calm their spasticity so that they can get a good night's sleep. One is a medical doctor on disability who swears by our product, who does 300 milligrams of the original to completely knock out her spasticity at the end of the day, and she's sleeping dramatically better. So the study again on the bottom here is CBD and sleep, the use of cannabinoids for sleep, a critical review on clinical trials. So this is a slide out of that study. So how do we use this stuff? Where do we get it from? How should we shop for it? So how much Blue Sky should I take? Like with all medicines, natural prescriptive dosing is a complicated phenomenon that encompasses a person's illness or lack thereof, metabolism, liver SNPs, which is your detoxification genetics, diet and lifestyle, including exercise history, and use of other supplements, medications, and recreational over-the-counter intake. So basically, what goes in you minus what goes out of you via liver, gallbladder, intestine, poop, sweating and peeing, that's what's the medicinal amount in your body. And that's going to be a little different for everybody. So on average, we're seeing 30 milligrams to 120 milligrams of pure CBD isolate. I'm not talking about full spectrum hemp on these dosings. There's not good research on full spectrum hemp for anything. It might work. We don't know yet. And I'm looking forward to seeing that literature, but this is on the pure cannabidiol. Each Sky gel is 30 milligrams. So we'll tell people to chew up 2 Sky gels or 60 milligrams to start and see how they feel. If they do well on their Sky gels, which I think we can send samples to people on the call today, we then do the Blue Sky CBD isolate tincture because it's a lot more cost effective to make the liquid without the gel cap. And a dropper full is about 75 milligrams, 75 to 90 milligrams, depending on how hard you squeeze. And I'll take a dropper full under the tongue in the morning and in the evening, and actually in the mid-afternoon. So I do a morning dose and about a 3 to 5 p.m. dose. And that's what I need to feel uplifted, calm, focused, recovered from workouts, that kind of thing. Some of our Parkinson's patients have gone up to 300 milligrams. And I tell people if 75 milligrams is not working, try 75 twice a day. That's not working, try 75 3 times a day, or a dropper full 3 times a day. And if you're not getting any noticeable benefit, go to 2 droppers twice a day. It is extremely rare for a Parkinson's disease patient in our customer base or in our clinic to get no benefit from 300 milligrams of the Blue Sky Original CBD. So over here, if I'm working with schizophrenia or bipolar and cannabidiol, I have to match that clinical trial. and those German schizophrenics that were randomized into a traditional antipsychotic group or the CBD group, they needed 400 to 800 milligrams to stabilize their schizophrenia. That's amazing. They just totally balanced out these patients with minimal side effects. So with antipsychotics, you actually get a lot of movement disorders. You can get Parkinsonisms or tardive dyskinesias because of its dopamine squashing. So Abilify and Lamictal and Seroquel, they do squash dopamine, and these are, in my opinion, contraindicated for Parkinson's because you're trying to enhance the dopamine. But they do work for calming down the erratic behaviors of uncontrolled bipolar schizophrenia. CBD at higher doses does the same thing without the dopamine problems. It actually pumps up the dopamine a little bit. So most of our patient population have already been pre-treated with diet and lifestyle measures, high healthy fats to feed the endocannabinoid system, olive oil, salmon, if you'll do sardines or herring or mackerel, great. And you have to ask your doctor to screen you for apnea if you have Parkinson's. The rate of sleep apnea is higher in Parkinson's population versus non-Parkinson's population. And the number one ingredient for your brain to make dopamine is oxygen, number one. So if you're an apneic and it's untreated, or you have anemia, or you have emphysema, anything that gets in the way of oxygen getting to your brain is going to aggravate Parkinson's disease. The last thing I say is do Blue Sky CBD as a one variable change. So have that be the only thing you change that day. Don't start drinking margaritas, take CBD, adrenal support herbs, and 15 other things on the same day. And then you can run a metabolic panel, which is that usual panel you see with your electrolytes and your liver enzymes and your kidney enzymes. 2 to 4 weeks in this CBD, we have never had an elevation of liver enzymes on cannabidiol in the hundreds of patients I've tracked CMP with, but you do get occasional people who do spike their liver enzymes, and that's usually because they're on another prescription. But even in our Parkinson's patients, we're not seeing any concerns with liver enzymes and CBD at these dosages. So there is one drug you need to be a little careful with CBD, and that is the old school blood thinners. And that's Coumadin, warfarin, heparin. I am not talking about Pradaxa, Eliquis, Xarelto, the new kids on the block for blood thinning. And that's because Coumadin and CBD take a similar clearance pathway. They leave the Broncos Stadium using the same car exit, and they get a bottleneck effect. So you can actually raise someone's Coumadin levels and make their blood too thin, in theory. My general contractor is on Coumadin, and I had him on 300 milligrams of CBD, and his INR, his bleeding time, didn't change. But we just remind doctors and the public and patients and citizens, if you're on Coumadin, start small. You're getting drawn for your INRs every 2 to 4 weeks anyway, and just make sure that you're not messing with your bleeding times. All right. So, and then the other thing is, for glaucoma, more than 20 milligrams of CBD is contraindicated. So you can go up to 20 milligrams. Bush Sr., who's no longer with us, President Bush Sr., used Marinol for his glaucoma. So that's where marijuana or THC is actually indicated over CBD. So something like a glaucoma would be more marijuana. All right. So we talked about the warfarin. Here's some cytochrome P450 overlapping medicines of potential. Amiodarone is an antiarrhythmic, cyclosporine, diltiazem, fluconazole, haloperidol, sertraline, tetracycline antibiotics, tacrolimus, and verapamil. Those are some pretty strong drugs. We do see occasional people on amiodarone and sertraline, haloperidol is a very strong antipsychotic. So just do your diligence. Like shopping for high quality fish oil, hemp product labeling can be misleading and confusing. When shopping for fish oil, we are most interested in the EPA plus DHA levels per capsule. And this is the therapeutic portion of fish oil used in all the clinical trials. The rest of the capsule is just fish fat, sometimes oxidized and dangerous with sloppy companies. The main ingredient you're looking for is the cannabidiol content when using the suggested dosing above or mimicking a human trial that used pure CBD. So everything I've talked about, the MS, the Parkinson's trials, the anxiety studies, the depression, they're all on straight cannabidiol. And people bait and switch full spectrum hemp for cannabidiol all the time in drug stores, health food stores, even gas stations will try and sell you full spectrum hemp. There's no research on it, and there's truly no research on it for Parkinson's. So hence, if a bottle says 3,000 milligrams of full spectrum hemp, this does not mean 3,000 milligrams of CBD. Moreover, if they don't report the CBD content, you should be suspicious, or at least realize they are not doing analysis for the CBD quantity, and you really don't know what you're getting. So what I do in my practice is I try and match the clinical trials for my patients, and I try and go exact, right? And that's where the clinical trials on Parkinson's is 30 milligram to 300 milligram of CBD. All right, that's all I got for you guys. Pleasure being here with you today, and happy to take some questions.
So first, if anybody wants to get out here and start asking questions, just get yourself unmuted. It's a great time. Might have been a lot to come through, but I definitely have some of my own. Let's see here, I'll put that out there. The last thing you mentioned was how some places will kind of water it down, I suppose, for lack of better terminology. How do you decipher when shopping around for these products? How do you decipher?
Yeah, you're looking for straight cannabidiol or straight CBD. The other thing that's nice about CBD is it doesn't taste like marijuana or hemp. It's a pure isolate, so it's just an extraction of the oil. And when you're looking on the label, you can see here, this says 300 milligram CBD isolate, lab tested, 0 THC. So what they'll do a lot is it'll say things like full spectrum hemp or CBD infused. You're looking for the straight isolate.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I had heard from a few different sources that that CBD has to be like activated with a tiny bit of THC to make it work. Have you heard that?
Yeah. So you should watch the YouTube, the CBD 101 Dorninger. I go deep into that. Carrie knows that I can like overeducate people when I write stuff. That is absolutely doo-doo. There's nothing in the peer-reviewed literature. And so what I'm saying is every study that I'm showing you guys is literally done on cannabidiol isolate. It was not done on 99% CBD. And this is, I'm a naturopath, and I will tell you, I'm embarrassed by my own holistic community where fads catch wildfire. And if it sounds good, people just kind of becomes gospel, and people start, talking about, hey, no, there's one paragraph by this phytocannabinoid researcher out of Australia. His name is Ethan Rousseau. He's a juggernaut, total stud, and he's done a lot of good work on this. But he wrote one paragraph that said, we may need multiple phytocannabinoids, and this could be called the entourage effect. Everyone took that one sentence and ran with it, even though study after study after study after study after that are all on the effectiveness of pure cannabidiol, whether it's for schizophrenia, anxiety, Parkinson's, neuropathic pain, Alzheimer's, mice, over and over and over again. So it's really weird how people just want the science to be what they're selling. And that's not what we do at Blue Sky. The science directs what we do.
Thank you.
And then do you have an actual outlet store that someone can walk into, or is everything online?
Yeah, so it's bluesky CBD.com and I think Carrie has some some discount coupons from that. But then there's also Google Pins of some healthcare providers, some physical therapy clinics that you can go and pick up brick and mortar for Blue Sky. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
again, when you're shopping for value, it's the per milligram that you're paying for, right? So this 3,000 milligram CBD sells for $125. It's 3,000 milligrams. If you look for 3,000 milligrams, not a full spectrum, anywhere else, you're looking in the $300 to $450 range, and they'll do something for $125 that's much smaller. So just like any other product, and NCAP and Walmart and Costco, you gotta watch the labeling. And we do not know a company, and if anyone finds it, please let me know, that does third-party tested, pure and clean, 0 THC, final batch tested for pesticides for the per milligram price of our CBD isolates. And that's because I said, I don't want to get greedy with this company. Let's make this price point where patients and citizens and doctors can actually push the dosages. Because if you have 2 drops, you're not going to feel a uplifting benefit, right? And then dampen that inflammation, and then walk through the door and get working out. Add some more wild salmon to your diet. Pull back on that sugar. Ask your doctor to check for apnea. We use the CBD all the time to get people off the couch, get a little bit more uplifted, and then say, you know what, I showed up for Rocksteady Bachman 3 times this week. And it starts becoming a feed forward cycle rather than an inflammatory downward spiral.
Dr. D, I wanted to just hop in and say, if anyone wants to try the product, we have the code PAR, and that's 20% off if anyone wants to use that on the website as well.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. You've mentioned the YouTube CBD 101, and you say another word after it, but I can't catch that.
Oh, my last name, Dorninger. DORNINGER.
Thank you. And okay, go ahead.
Oh, as you can say, I feel very protective of chronic illness patients and the web. So I'm just warning you, my talk is giving you all the peer reviews, but that when you go there, you'll get 80 other CBD and hemp and feelings. And
Right.
I'm an unemotional, apolitical, lean, mean diagnosing machine that is doing what the science says. And Parkinson's is a disease of inflammation, and you have to squash that inflammation.
And my other question is, you were mentioning the PubMed. You said there were
Yes.
studies that we could find on PubMed.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So buckle up. If you go to pubmed.gov, and that's the
Right.
the thing, pubmed.gov, and that stands for publicmedicine.gov. So this is your tax
right.
dollars paying for research that then has to get published. They owe you a return on your investment. And if you just put in cannabidiol, you will get thousands of studies. But if you want to look at something more specific, you can put in cannabidiol Parkinson's, or cannabidiol multiple sclerosis, or cannabidiol Alzheimer's, so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sweet. Anybody else want to throw anything out there? Got any questions?
People just get online.
Yeah, start
Yeah.
looking.
And I see Coach here has his UFC gym shirt on. So I'm a 49-year-old idiot who still rolls Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at Easton. And I have a Blue Sky balm in every gym bag of mine. So if you say, I'm not sure if I want to dive in on the oral, pick up one of the balms. And anytime you have like some tennis elbow or pickleball elbow, what I do is very much like in the Karate Kid when Miyagi-san said wax on, wax off. Whatever body part you go up, down, move over, up, down, move over, up, down, all around the entire joint, because you don't want to chase the inflammation from the front to the back or vice versa. Let it sit for a minute, and then really give yourself a 2-minute massage. You don't have to do that. It works even without doing that, but that even helps more. And you'll be blown away on how you can get back into training and watch injuries heal before your eyes. The topical has really been a blessing and a godsend for our athletes, but also just our pain patients.
Yeah, absolutely. I will look into that too, because that makes sense for when hands definitely.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure yeah. I'm sure you got some chronic stuff if your training is as hard as it looks like you train. So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, sweet.
yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. This was
Yeah,
informational. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And this has been recorded. I believe that we'll have this up on the Parkinson's Point website too. If you guys ever need to go back and look over something, forgot something, we should have it up on the site within a week or so.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, doctor.
Have a great weekend.
You guys all take care. We'll see you guys.